Domino Thinking presents Natural Born Speakers with your host, Allison Donaghy. If you were born to talk and want to know how to build your career around it, then Natural Born Speakers is the show for you. Now grab your seat because this is the place to be. Now here is your host, Allison.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We actually have one of my dear friends on the show. I love her to bits. I've never met her, so as dear as friends can be when we're online. And Tanya is known as the Truthpreneur, and she is a clarity coach. She's a thought leader, strategist, and a business consultant. And what she does is she helps people get really clear on what they need to get clear about, be it a strategy for social media or for their business or where they want to go. And I've had the great fortune of talking to her a few times about getting clear about quite a few things. And she is now a guest on my show. So this is going to be a treat. Thank you so much for showing up, Tanya.
Of course I would. Excited.
Good. I like it when guests are excited. So how about we start with you telling me about where you were and how you ended up here, because I'm pretty sure you didn't come out of the womb as a clarity coach. So
of course I did. What?
It may seem that way now, but I'm sure that's not the trajectory of your life. So how did that come about?
It's funny, actually. A lot of what you end up doing in your life is second nature. And so giving people clarity was second nature. I had to ask myself, okay, I was watching a show and a training, and they said, what do people thank you for? That's how you really know where your kind of, your skill set is. And that's exactly what happened. After all these years in business, I'm like, wait a minute, that's what people thank me for. Clarity. It's all the time. So it's in their brand, clarity. And I started laughing because I'm thinking, wow, I've been doing this for so many years. It was a second nature, but my eyes weren't open to it. Now, how did I actually, how did I actually begin the journey of opening my eyes? Well, it happened, a while ago, way back. I feel like saying once upon a time.
Oh, doesn't that sound very princess?
It does. Maybe that's
very fairy tale.
In this mystical land, but it was very real to me. So, you know what? My husband actually, he was my high school sweetheart. Loved him dearly. And, I started wanting to want more in life. And, he was like, okay, you know what? I would love to do, a motorcycle shop. And I said, okay, that's great. We were married, going on our 10-year anniversary married, and it was really awesome. And, that we decided that Thursday we were going to open up our own shop. And I had been doing other little
just
things.
Like that.
Right? Yeah, we were like, we're going to do this. We have a garage, and isn't that practically what everybody does, right? It's like, I'm going to do this business, so I'm just going to go ahead and use whatever I have in my house.
Yeah.
And it's like, sure, people will come to my garage and not think it's weird at all. And so I went and we started doing that on that Thursday, right? And I'm like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to knock it out. We're going to at least start researching. So I'm a researcher. I'm detailed. So I go and I'm looking at that and creative. And then Wednesday comes around, which is almost a full week later. And we're about to, I find out that I'm pregnant. I'm headed off to church and I'm like, hey, honey, you know what? I'm going to just tell you I'm pregnant. And so we had been trying for another child. We had our little boy. And I said, you know what? He's 4. We're going to go ahead and have another one now so that they can be close together. And he actually died in a hit-and-run motorcycle accident that day.
Oh no.
And so when it all came to be, that's really what kicked my butt into gear, right? Because everybody needs not motivation, but momentum. You need something to like kick you into momentum, into gear, right? And keep you going. It's like almost that hard kick in the rear that keeps you going for a long time. And that's actually what got me going. So, I never really looked back from there. And I said, what skill set do I have? Which most people do, right? They always say, what skill set do I have? What experience do I have? They don't really think about where they're going. They just figure I can make a business out of anything that I do. And so I did photography, and that kind of started my long journey in entrepreneurship.
Very cool. Do you still do photography?
For fun. But after my neck hurting, my back hurting, multiple needing of like ice packs and, on my hands and
good Lord, what photography did you do?
Well, you know what?
Sitting
at your computer. It is. You don't realize what photographers go through. So like sitting at my computer endless hours after I just finished like a 12-hour wedding with, I usually had some good brides. And I say usually because, God likes to joke around and throw in those crazy ones for me. And so, yeah, so it was a lot. It was just overwhelming. And finally I was like, I can't do this anymore. What can I do? And I figured out, eventually you become a teacher, right? Mm-hmm. So I said, you know what? I have enough years under my belt. I can teach something in business. And then I went and I shifted. So it was the pain of where I was at. It outweighed the pain of change.
And isn't that so true? Like that's the reality that we need that kick in the ass to get us going somewhere. And then we, because that was the same with me. My partner died. Yeah. And I had to feed my kid. And so you do what needs to be done without much thought, I don't think about, at least for me, there was an awful lot of thought about what it was that I was actually going to be doing. It was like, I've been painting, I guess I'll start my own painting company, and that's where we're going to go. And then
it makes sense.
Yeah, but then you hit that plateau where you become comfortable, at least I did. And I was like, well, I can just coast along like this forever. But then it doesn't feel good anymore. And then that starts that new kick in the ass to start doing something else. And I think life tends to be a series of that. But you help people really get clear on what that something else is.
Yes, absolutely. I just have that gifting for it, I'm just able to kind of see what's going on. And really it's just, I'm a strategist. And so essentially over the years, in all actuality, the one thing I can say that gets under my skin more than anything in the world is when people are just downloading every freebie, every webinar, every masterclass, spending thousands of dollars, going to all these places, getting coaches that really don't coach implementation. They just kind of coach. I really don't know. And so, it's one of those things where it just gets under my skin, and so many people could cut the learning curve, right? Mm-hmm. And they don't, because they're all over the place. And so then when I see them, there's so many missing moving parts. And they're in industries because they think that that's the right thing to do. So it's like, hey, guess what? They say do webinars. And so go do webinars. It's the crave. And they go do it. And they're really not conditioned to do webinars because that's not really their personality type. It's not how they flow. And so I'm like, can you not listen to they and listen to you? When something's a ringing alarm in you, but you're so hungry to succeed that you're willing to go beyond what is not you. Now, there's a difference between that, right? Obviously, self-development and being in your uncomfortable zone. But there's this thing inside of you, when it's just, I know I need to be doing this, but I'm just kind of lazy at it, or I haven't gotten it. Or there's that thing where it's like, I know I don't want to do this, and I wish there was another way to succeed in business without this, because I just don't get results this way.
Right. Yeah. So how do people cross, because it's a real tight line fine line between, I don't want to because I'm in my comfort zone here, and that's going to take me out of the comfort zone, to truly knowing that it's wrong for you. Like, how do people determine that? Because we're so skilled at telling ourselves lies, right? So we can say very careful, with great confidence, oh no, I can't do that. It won't work for me. It doesn't feel right. But how do you really know if that is true or if that's just your fear talking?
Test it.
Okay.
Essentially, just test it. I mean,
that works.
Let's be really honest with ourselves. And you, I know that you love that domino way of thinking, right? You love that way of really testing it and saying, okay, legitimately, am I just being a big old baby and I need to put my big girl panties on? Or, is this legitimately not me? And so I've done it where I've tested myself and I said, okay, I know my personality type. Okay. I know how I function. I know things that I'm not skilled at per se. Okay. And so if I know that, then I either contract out, okay, and I find another avenue. But then I also determine, do I need to have that skill in order to run my business?
Right.
Is it something that I need to know as a strategist, as a consultant? Do I need to know these things? And it really determines where I'm going and how I'm flowing. So for me, honestly, I give like a 3-month stint. So if it's like, hey, you know what, let me do live stream and I'm going to test this out. I'm going to stay consistent for the 3-month stint. And I'm going to see how it flows. I'm going to look at my reviews. I'm going to see what's going on. Statistics never lie.
Right.
So I take a look at these things and I see what's yielding me results. I also see what I enjoy and what I don't enjoy. So there's a lot of avenues for it. I really would have to take like situational things, but you can do a number of things. You can look at your statistics, see your results. You can legitimately say, is this something that I really enjoy doing? Not something that is like, I'm scared. There's a difference between I would love to do it. Cause see, everybody, like, you talk about, speaking and even authoring books and things like that. You always know that you wanted to author something. You know that you wanted to be a change. You know you wanted to speak or teach or something. Now, the avenue of where you go about it, you might have to test it out.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
And sometimes it's timing too, right?
Absolutely.
It's definitely thinking about a book was something that I thought about, because I think most people think that they have a reason to write a book. Like most people I talk to, they go, yeah, I kind of wouldn't mind doing that. Most people don't write a book, but most people have given it some thought.
Yes.
And then today, while this show is airing, I'm actually launching my book. But if you had told me last year I was going to be launching a book, I would have been like, are you high? There's no way.
Yeah.
It takes much longer than that to write a book. And you really, really have to be an expert or this or that or the other thing. And then you start writing the book. It becomes a whole lot easier than I ever dreamed it was going to be. Writing the book was probably one of the easiest things I've ever done. And there was so much that I realized that I was an expert on through the writing of this book. And sometimes putting it down in writing just makes it more real. I was an expert before I wrote it, but putting it down and making it all make sense, that changes things.
Absolutely. I believe that your intuition, listen to your intuition. You know when something is fear and you know when something is just not right. There's this, like, have you ever had that moment where you have your son, like, you saw something and it was like, okay, you needed to do something for your son. And then there were certain times that it was like, there was this protective instinct about it where it's just like, something's not right. I just don't like the feeling of it. You still wouldn't do it. Why? Because something was an alarm inside. But when people are so hungry for success, they ignore that alarm. And so it's in that intuition, that natural instinct. We all have a groove that we kind of go through. And while you can kind of, smooth the waters, have the waters smooth some of those edges and kind of widen those grooves to kind of, make a different pathway or a wider pathway, you're still going to stick to a certain groove. So when something's not you and when something is you. When you're faking it and when you're not. You just know it. And that's why it's like, I always believe like there's like that voice inside that we can say, I'm not worth it. I'm not this. But then all of a sudden there's always this response back that says, no, you are. You're just kind of in a sucky situation. There's always that opposite voice.
Yeah.
So that you know what feels right and what feels wrong.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. And I think when you take that time, and then the more you do it, I think the better you become with it.
Yes.
Because you start understanding what those signs are and where you're feeling it. So when something feels right or feels wrong, there is actually a physical response to it. And if you can understand what that is, where you feel it, like for me, I feel it like in my solar plex. And when something doesn't feel right, I'm just like, well, it all gets tight and tense and I sort of want to curl my shoulders forward. And I know like, it's like, ugh, I'm repulsed by it. But because I'm so hyper aware of that now, even when I know the difference between that and when I'm lying, because when I'm lying to myself, I don't feel that.
Yeah. It's like practice
as much
perfect.
as I want to.
Like, yeah. It's like, okay, you know what? Failing makes perfect. You know what I mean? It's like, it's okay. Just, and that's what I was actually just doing a live stream today, sharing with my fans on my Facebook page about failing. And I'm like, most people, they fail. And then they try to get up really fast. And I'm like, no, guys, stay down for a second.
Stay down for the count.
Yeah, stay down for a second. Exactly. I'm like, heal yourself. Get yourself. This is where we learn strategy. This is where when you fail on something or fall on something, you get to identify, is this consistent? Is this something that needs to shift? Why am I getting this result? How can I change this? And why am I where I'm at? This is when you can actually identify what the problem is and how you can resolve it. Is it lack of consistency? Is it lack of, you just shouldn't be in this zone and you shouldn't, and you're trying to force something to make it happen? So many people with the self-development world start giving themselves affirmations and saying, no, I don't feel bad. I'm going to be good. And it's like, oh my goodness, stop ignoring the reality and the alarms that are coming through. Mm-hmm. This is where people mess up in their branding and in their clarity. They usually know when they talk to me, they have this understanding of where they want to go, but they're going with another flow because they think that's what it is to succeed. And they're ignoring the inner alarm in themselves. It's almost like I'm a permission giver. Like there was a couple of times when you said things and I'm like, forget about it. You're like, forget about it? Why? Just forget about it. Don't do it. You don't like it? Don't do it. I'm just honest. And how did it feel to just let it go and be like, I'm not doing it because I don't feel like it. Why don't you want to do it? Because I don't want to. That's it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's it. Mm-hmm. It's not rocket science.
And, even if there is that fine line between fear and comfort zone, if it doesn't feel good, sometimes it's not the right time. So even if it is a fear, then give it a bit of time and it will stop being a fear and start becoming something that more naturally moves you to where you need to go.
Exactly.
Right? So maybe we don't need to know what the difference is at that time.
Yeah, but you have to just acknowledge it. And I guess if I could say that in anything, acknowledge the feeling first, because then you can identify the difference. And understand, is it timing? Is it not? But too many people ignore their actual intuition.
Right. Yeah. It's so true. We've moved so far away from it. I think there's other cultures that probably do it a lot better than we do. And I'm sure there is. But in our culture, I think we're so busy on following the rules that we lose sight of following our intuition. And I think that's becoming more and more of a popular thing. As yoga is taking over and granola is taking over, so is intuition. And we tend to, there's definitely a bit of a shift where we're recognizing that there's more to it than just what other people are telling us.
Absolutely. And this is the big thing that got me into this journey, honestly, is because I was sitting there trying to figure everything out, right? Having one of those epiphany days, where you're just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, let me legitimately see who I'm following on social media. Do I really want to be like them? Like, do I really want to be a masterful person in webinars? Do I really want to be, this over here or this over here? And the truth was I didn't. And so I had to see, why am I following them then? What is it that's really driving me to them? Is it their brand? Is it how open they are, their honesty, integrity? What really is it? And it was one of those shifting moments for me where I'm thinking, you know what? I'm tired of constantly following what everybody else tells me to do and ignoring what I feel like I need to be doing. And so I know some things are obviously common sense, right? Like get on social media or do this or do that. And while that's great, there's some people that are thriving in multimillionaires that are not even on social media.
Right.
Because their clients are not on social media. Or however, you see what I'm saying? But I was taking somebody else's model and trying to fit myself into it, as opposed to, ensuring, and that's why my coaching, the consulting I do is a totally different approach. I don't want you to do it like I do. That's the last thing I want you to do. I want you to do it like you do.
Well, why do you think, though, that we trust a stranger before we trust ourselves? Like, where do you think that comes from? Because it seems so counterintuitive. We will look at somebody that we've never even met. They're on social media and we're like, oh yeah, I have to do it that way. But we don't know who they are. We don't know what their story is. We know who we are. We know what our story is, yet we don't listen to ourselves. Why? Why do we do that?
Essentially, they have something that you don't have. They have the proof that what they did worked. And so you essentially feel automatically that what you're doing is not working. And it's probably correct. What you're doing is not working. Now, you have to identify, though, is why is it not working for you? What are you doing? Are you doing things that are going against your natural flow?
Right.
Okay. Like there's certain people that I'll find that do a lot of like shows and live streams and things like that, and they're not very they're not charismatic. They're not really good at it. A lot of people don't, and they've been told that. But they're amazing at writing. They're amazing bloggers and content creators. I mean, phenomenal graphic artists. It's just amazing, their blog posts, and they get it all over the place. Do you see what I'm saying? And so what they're trying to do is adapt to somebody else's thing. And a lot of that is insecurity, right? You have insecurity saying, if I'm not getting results in this area, maybe I can get results in this area.
Right.
It's the trial and error. It's the journey that we go through. It's not understanding that inner power that you actually have and not giving yourself permission. You know what? Also, I'm going to really believe that it's laziness. No joke. I really believe, hey, if I can follow somebody else's model, I don't have to put in the skin in the game to get it done. Because if I just copy what they're doing, then hey, guess what? I don't have to necessarily. And now I'm taking a totally different perspective, because we can take the other perspectives of, insecurities, not trusting yourself. Yeah, that's great. But let's get down to the other aspect, because I know you like the different ways of thinking. And that's a really big way right there. I mean, what do you think about that? I think a lot of people want to take the easiest way, which I get, but you can't avoid sometimes the skin in the game.
That's true. And I think sometimes just because the way we're doing things doesn't mean it's the easiest way.
Yeah.
And that holds true for all sorts of things, right? Like I have worked with people in the trades who do something, and I look at them and I'm like, why are you doing it that way? And they say, well, that's how it's done. And I'm like, but it's be easier if you did it this way, wouldn't it? And then they look at me and they go, oh, yeah. And it's amazing the number of people who then say, I'm going to start doing it that way. And the other ones that say, yeah, that's easier, but I'm going to do it the way I do it. And I'm like, I have no vested interest in whether or not they change the way they do it. Like, I don't care. I just want to bring awareness to something. But it's so interesting, that group of people who will adapt and change, and those who are just like, nope, that's the way it's done. Yeah.
I totally agree. I started to ask myself, who said? Like, that's my question to myself. Like who said it? Who said that you needed to do this way or that way, or this is the holy grail? Because the truth of the matter is, I've seen other people break the mold. Like, who first started podcasting? Who first started webinars? Like, who first started online programs? Somebody had to say, you know what? Forget what they said. I'm going to just do something different.
Yeah.
At one point, you had to shift. So I always ask myself, like, honestly, who said it? And then I go back to the source and I'm thinking, all right, and I see this and I see this. And I have to then say, okay, I know they said, but do I say? Is that something that really is, let's be really honest, is it really going to work with me? And I have to look at my personality type, and I have to see introvert, extrovert. Am I a creator? Am I a connector? How do I really flow in this whole grand scheme of things? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, understanding our part in it is huge, and understanding that the part that we bring to it, when we bring to it well, is a really, really important part.
Right.
So when you're talking about, a janitor in the building, if they're doing that cleaning well, they are just as important as the person running the company. Because if they weren't doing their job and people are falling and there's lawsuits and all that other stuff, how's that going to look at the company? Right. And I think sometimes we don't value what we contribute enough because we have this idea of what other people think we should be contributing.
Yes.
But the more I see people, the more I talk to people, the more I interact with them, the more I see how important and vital their role is in all of it. Mm-hmm. It gets all, like every little bit of that spider web needs to be in place to make it look like a good functioning spider web.
Absolutely.
And, why I pick spiders, I don't know. I don't even like spiders. I'm coming to terms with them. But, that was a weird place for me to go with it.
Well, you know what, though? In the grand scheme of things, it is something that you just have to realize where is your strong suit. Mm-hmm. Like, for instance, if it wasn't for my assistant that really is able to capture a lot of the things that I'm thinking and kind of put it into these really great graphics, because although I've done graphic, and I had a business doing that, it's hard to do it yourself, for yourself. But if it wasn't for her and her intricacies and what she does, it would be really difficult for me to grow. It would be really difficult for me to articulate sometimes what I'm feeling or seeing or thinking, because she is that missing piece for me, or helping me do certain things. I've even seen some of my clients, like, if it wasn't for them and some of the ways that they've brought things to me or certain things, I wouldn't have changed some of my program, or I wouldn't have done certain things. So everybody has a certain value that they bring. Yeah. And I think it has a lot to do with, you put yourself in so much of a comparison with other people, not in a positive way, but in a negative way. Mm-hmm. And you're thinking, well, if they're a best-selling author, then I should be able to do that. Or maybe if that's the way they're gaining their wealth, by traveling and speaking and authoring books, I should do the same thing. Mm-hmm. And so essentially we'll always look for the model, right? Because it's naturally human nature it's scientifically proven for us to go into our comfort zone. We naturally want to be where it's comfortable. And if we have to pave our own way, it's not comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's totally true. But there is such a gift in that.
It is.
Like when we can get out of our way and just say, okay, this is a little bit scary, but it's going to be even better than what they have, because they are so restricted by the borders of their thought process. Because when I started the painting company, women weren't doing it. I wasn't well received in the trades.
Right.
The guys didn't want me in their industry. And so they would lie to me about how things got done and do all of that sort of stuff. And what it did is I didn't end up with a mentor. I just had to reinvent every single wheel. I had to figure out how I was doing my estimates. And it turns out I was doing them a whole lot better because I didn't have that restriction of how they were supposed to be done. So now I have the best estimates in town, and people hire me because they love my estimates. And I had another company say to me, wow, I've seen your estimates. They're really, really good. No wonder you get so much work. And they said, but it's too much work. I won't do it that way. I'm like, perfect. I don't care. Right? Like, if that's the way you want to see it, I can live with that choice that you're making. That's good. But even when they see that it's working, they don't want to do it because they are still bound by their belief system. I didn't have that. I had to reinvent everything. And it was one guy at the paint store saying, I don't care what color my clients put on the wall. That prompted me to create a color course, which launches next month. And so it's all of this stuff that when we trust ourselves to make those decisions, then we can start really coming into something that's new and unique.
Absolutely. And I think that the biggest thing too is, are you running a business or doing what you're doing just to work and get money? Or, may I, shake the waters a bit and ask, what is your true intention?
Yeah.
And the funny part is I actually have a book that that is almost done, and it's called Imprisoned by Your Business. And it's pretty interesting because you said a lot of things. So many individuals, they're imprisoned because they think that business is a certain way where you have to have this brick and mortar and you have to work this 9 to 6 and you have to do – that's no different than really corporate America. You're just now blood, sweat, and tears for yourself.
Right.
And essentially,
and, for your 12 and 16 hours a day.
Exactly. And it's, and because actually you open from 9 to 6 or 9 to whatever. And then, then you work like 10 hours more after that and, trying to catch up and be everything. And I've heard people where they're like, yeah, it's easier to contract out. I'm like, you'll make more money if you leverage other people's services. And they're like, yeah, but I just really want to they can't get past the mindset of that they're going to actually pay somebody else to do the work that they can do. They don't realize that their best bet, because they're not a good accountant or they're not a good, customer service rep, or they're not good at booking appointments or doing estimates. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, well, that's great. You know what I mean? Go ahead and contract somebody out that has a strong suit for that. Yeah. Right. And then grow. And I've just noticed that, and this happens a lot with mom and pops. And I say that in the grand scheme of like, the 1-2 employee kind of companies, they are stuck in this certain mindset, this frame. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I have to do it all.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the way it used to get done. Right. And especially when, the husband would have a mechanic shop and the wife would do the books or, like it would be that collaborative thing, or there was a store underneath their house or their apartment, or it was different. But I think business has changed so much. There are so many aspects, so many dynamics, that you have to start allowing other people to shine at the stuff that you're not so shiny with.
Absolutely. I mean, you're going to have to do that. Like, let me just be, we know that we're real with each other. So you're going to put the legwork in, right? You have to. And there might be times that you are everything, but there has to be a point of release. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to discourage anybody that's listening that, that says, okay, you know what? I have to do everything because I don't have the income or this or this or that. I get that. At the same time, there's different ways to go about things. Right.
But there is huge, huge value in understanding how the mailroom works, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Because if you have to struggle at the beginning and do your own social media, it gives you an appreciation for the person who's going to do it well in your future. It gives you an understanding of what it is that they're doing. And so that you can have an intelligent conversation with them about it. If you start and just farm out everything, I think you can sometimes become a little disconnected with your business. If you can know a little bit about all of your business and then as time allows, farm out what you can, I think that is a really smart foundational model. Granted, I'm sure lots of people do it differently and it works just fine. But if push comes to shove, that means you could pick up the pen on any part of your business.
And that is important because even though I know how to do everything in my business, but I still have people working for me to be able to contract out. And so I could focus on what needs to happen. Mm-hmm. So, I can increase, and scale. But at the same time, what I've also learned is when I didn't know, I didn't understand the value. And so I overpaid. A lot of people underdelivered because I did not know what to do. So now, I always say know enough to be dangerous. Mm-hmm. So I know enough Facebook ads and marketing and advertising to be dangerous. Now, do I want to do it all the time? Not really. So just hire somebody to do it. But guess what? When they come to me with a proposal, I can say, wait a minute, hold on. What is this? Right. And they can't throw jargon at me. They can't do any of that because I'm going to call their bluff and say, wait a minute, this is not how it goes. Okay, you know what? I'm going to have to go ahead a different route. And so this is where you're able to make educated decisions and things like that. And I still jump into my social media and look at my stats, look at what's going on, look at how things were developing and all that type of stuff. So you're still going to jump around, but at least I'm not having to stay in one location and not be able to move. At this point, I'm able to jump around and see more from an aerial view of my business as opposed to being in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally agree with what you're saying. You know, take it slow. Because when I first hired my first assistant, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to really give them, because I'm like, okay, do I give this off? Do I not give this off? Is this too much? Are they going to do it like I want it? Mm-hmm. There was so much. So imagine like trying to do that to 10 different people all at once.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, but I don't know if it starts with 10 people though. See, that's the reality, right? Is that you start your business and you go, okay, I can farm out this now. And okay, I can farm out this now. And okay, now I have to hire somebody to manage that stuff that I'm farming out.
I have had some people crazy. I've had some consultations where people were literally, well, I don't like to do graphics, so I have my graphic designer, I have my web development person, and they're all different people. And I have my accountant, and I have my assistant, and I have my my blogging person, and I have my person that edits, and I'm like, oh my gosh, can you just hire one assistant that does this? Or can you do this or this? Or, I mean, literally, and they're doing it all at once. And then I look at their website and look at everything, and I'm thinking, you're nowhere near ready. You're not even bringing up income. What are you doing? And then they're drowning. And I'm thinking that's why you're drowning, because you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. Why? Because everybody has an assistant. If you're somebody important, you have an assistant. Right? Is that how it goes? Like,
I guess I'm important.
It's like, oh, well then, yeah, I guess, it's like, that's what I've noticed in the industry. It's like, it's so funny, because if you have this convincing facade, really great graphics on your website and everything, people automatically think that you're this. And how you get past that and you really see the person, go look at their content, go see, is it genuine? Is it real? Go see them in live. Go check that part out, and you can really see, get them talking on a podcast or something like that. That's totally not scripted, and let's see where you go from there.
Right.
So it's funny how that works, but I've seen it, Allison. No joke, I've seen it, and I was like, I would blow my gasket if I saw that. Mm-hmm. Trying to keep up with all those people and your own stuff.
Well, and I think that comes like too many cooks in the kitchen. It's that. The left hand won't know what the right hand's doing because it doesn't even know there's another hand. And how can they work as a cohesive group when they are so compartmentalized and different? There has to be some reasoning behind farming something out.
I really do agree with that. And you know what? Getting back to like where the brand is actually there is in the clarity. It's, jumping out too far ahead of yourself to keep up with the Joneses, or to feel that you've arrived, or however the case may be. You do need to absolutely have certain policies, procedures, things in place, systems in place to keep a clean brand and to keep clarity within yourself and in your business, because your systems are a part of that brand. How you respond to your clients and how their experiences with you is extremely important.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because that's your business, right? And if you're not clear and understanding, and people can't interpret what you're saying or what you're trying to say, what you're doing, then how would they ever want to work with you?
Exactly.
And the whole goal is to, have a business. And in order to have a business, you need people that want to work with you.
Absolutely. And that's why I just believe that just take your time and do what you have to do. Right. And if you're feeling something that doesn't feel right, then, get some help with it before you try to implement something that you're not quite sure about. I know a lot of people that and you can fall into the trap, right? It's like, hey, 7 days to get the best program ever. And you're in the 7 days, you're ripping your hair out because you're trying to keep up with the graphics and keep up with this and keep up with social media and try to do everything at one time, because this is like a challenge that you're doing. And you're trying to have a product in 7 days, and it's like, it's overwhelming. Right. They're trying to put like a $5,000 course together and launch it and brand it and get it all out there. Some things can be very unrealistic. Great content, but unrealistic. Yeah. And I believe that in a brand, you need to have clarity every step of the way. And if I don't have something, I don't move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's something. Clarity certainly helps with knowing where you're going.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you offer 7 days to clarity. Are you still offering that?
I actually do have the free course. You mean?
Yeah.
Actually, it's not free anymore. I extended all of the lessons. And it is now a paid course, a mini course, but I extended all the lessons and expounded on all the worksheets and everything like that. But there are some more things that are going to be coming out, so people can just kind of check out my website from time to time and see how that goes.
Right. And I always struggle with your website, so how about you tell us what it is?
You can always go to www.tanyapaxot, and that's PATXOT.com, or thetruthpreneur.com.
Perfect. You said that much better than I do. And I want to say too that when I did the 7-day, there's so many great little tips in there, simple tips to implement. And I don't know how much you've changed it or anything, and you can totally speak to that. But like at the egg timer, talk about the egg timer.
Okay. So, scientifically, it's proven that after about 60 minutes, your brain gets kind of like whacked out, right? You're working on, if you're blocking and tackling a project and working on it, it just gets so frustrating. And so you need to take about a good 15-minute break. So you can technically work anywhere between 60 to 90 minutes, but I like to do about a good 60. And then I take a 15-minute break. And so I take my timer. It also, it actually also helps me block and tackle a project. So I delete everything. I get everything. I open up the browsers, only browsers that I need. Okay. Entrepreneurs online out there with 30 browser windows open.
No, nobody does that.
Yeah, not ever.
Never. So as I'm looking at 10.
I know, right? It's like, oh my gosh. And then I'm like, what's ringing? What's playing? I hear a video. Oh, somebody calling me? What's going on? Live stream over here. It's like 10 different things like going on, and I'm trying to find out what window is actually playing. Has that ever happened?
Oh,
never
God.
At all, right?
Yeah,
so
never.
You're like 10 minutes ago. So I have a kitchen timer that I have, and I set it. And I block and tackle for that period of time on whatever task I'm working on. And then when it beeps, I know to go take a break. And so I have a set amount of those throughout my day, depending on how long my day is. Some days are shorter than others. And that's usually how I stay completely focused. And for some reason, when I see the time, I guess you naturally kind of a good pressure on you, whether competitive or just like, oh my gosh, you see the time and you're like, okay, I have 30 minutes. And you're really just like, it just kind of puts a good pressure on you. So I like to do that.
Well, it's like a deadline, right? And I think as entrepreneurs, it's sometimes difficult to get those deadlines because so much of what we do is self-motivated. So yes, I want to start a course and I want it to launch this year. So what do? We leave it until December 15th and then we start working on it.
Exactly.
But because and I think the entrepreneur brain is a little bit like this, is that we thrive on deadlines and there's that rush to get things done. And if we have that egg timer, what that does is creates that false sense of urgency that allows that part of our brain to kick in and go, oh, okay, I have an hour I have to produce.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's something about like when I push my timer that I see a message pop up or something might happen and I'm like, I don't have time for that. And then I just keep on going because I just don't have time for that. I mean, if it can't wait, I've always learned, especially when I was in my brick and mortar, that your emergency is not mine. And I know that a lot of people will say that it's different. And I'm like, well, because you procrastinated, now you want me to do that? That's great. So, I had those things where they had like a senior pictures and they had to have it into the yearbook. I'm like, well, then you're going to pay that rush fee.
Right.
And most people are like, no, but I got to treat my clients. No, because their emergency is not yours.
Yes. Lack of prior planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
And so when I realized that, I'm like, all right, well, then, I've gotten that part in my brain. And so I look at my timer and I'm like, this is my window. Mm-hmm. This is my time, my bracket. And I have a bracket actually for getting online. Okay, Tanya, you have 30 minutes. Answer all your emails, do whatever you got to do, figure it out. But 30 minutes, that's all you got.
You're tough.
Well, I like it because I've always wanted to like see how long it really took me. And so I'm like, wow, I finished everything in like 20 minutes, and I finished like my emails, everything. And I'll laugh at myself because normally if you had me there, I would have been like, ooh, what's that video? Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Oh, what's that one?
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder what she's doing. Oh, I haven't seen that in a long time. And then literally 3 hours later, I'm like, oh yeah, well, how's that book coming along?
Yeah, it is. It's like, it's a slippery slope.
Yeah. And you know what? I realize that when you do any task and get off focus, it can take you 20 minutes to get back on task. I don't have 20 minutes.
And because that 20 minutes take away from your family, or the 20 minutes take away from the writing of the book, or the going to the mall with friends, or out for brunch, or whatever it is that you want to be doing. Every time I think we deviate from what it is that was on our plate that we have to get done, we are stealing that time from something else.
Exactly. I can get a manicure in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like,
really?
Why would I? Yeah.
Like, damn, mine take longer than that.
Well, I don't have acrylic. I have my natural nails, so it's pretty quick.
Well, actually, I don't even get manicures. I get pedicures. And,
okay, now that's longer. Stay on my toes and massage those things.
Yes, bring out those hot towels. All about that. So what do you have going on right now in terms of programs or workshops, or what do you got going on?
Actually, I have really I'm just focused on just very few things, which is actually a beautiful thing for me. So I'm focused definitely on finishing my book. That will come out probably towards the end of the year or the new year in 2017. But I'm focused on that. And I do have an online store that's coming on. So I do a lot of my teachings and a lot of the stuff on there, so that way individuals can do that. And I have forums that are within each product that you purchase or invest in. I have my forums in there. So I don't have to be on social media or Facebook groups, but I could actually be in that class and answer questions within there. So I like that it's more focused for me and more direct. But my main focus right now is my doctorate. I know that I have to finish that. So between my book and my doctorate, those are my main things at this point.
Mm-hmm. And what's your doctorate in?
I'm actually doing it in practical ministry with a minor in communications.
Very cool. How long have you been working on that?
Actually, I'd be going about a year. I had to take a really long sabbatical, so that's why I'm kind of back at this point where I'm like, all right, knock everything out, get it done. get
those deadlines.
Oh my goodness. And finally I had to put a lot of stuff on the back burner and say, okay, what is most important? And that's really what got me into that mindset, where it's like, okay, everybody says you have to do this, 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 and this. And I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Because, and I'm thinking there's other ways, right? And I started thinking of other ways, and I was able to do like over $17,000 in business without being on social media every single day, inboxing every single day, and going absolutely bonkers. So when I realized that, I'm like, you know what? There's other ways to go about things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is. And I think that's what keeps you ahead of the game, right?
Absolutely. You have to be okay. Hey, if I'm not on social media for one day, I do have automated stuff on Meet Edgar, so those things do happen. But at the same time, I'm not ran by that. So I focus on more relationships.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Well, and I always hear so many great things coming out of your mouth every time we talk, and I'm like, she's just brilliant. This is great.
You're so funny.
Yeah.
See, and if I was on social media all day long, I wouldn't have brilliance coming out.
Well, yeah, you'd just be regurgitating everybody else's stuff. And I think sometimes that people lose sight that the key to sometimes paving a new way is by shutting everybody else out.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's where I'm at right now. You have your seasons, right? And I actually have a book that I'm writing about seasons. And so that's so funny because that's exactly what I believe and what I see. There, I've had those seasons, ups and downs. I was out there like crazy, all these programs, coaching, everything. And now is a different season until the new year. I really believe that this is the next season of of exactly what you said. So you'll see me pop on, definitely be on my email list and things like that. If you're going to get that, but I'm not the type, I'm not going to email you every day. I'm just not. That's just not me. I don't feel the need for it. I'm going to come out when I feel that there's value.
Well, and then it will have value because it's just not a knee-jerk reaction to the things that are going on around you. And I think that, like when I was writing my book, there was a couple of times that I picked up somebody else's book and was reading it. And it set me back so far, comparatively speaking, to had I never picked up their book in the first place. Simply because I started then thinking, oh, maybe I should be saying it more like they're saying it. So once I saw that happening, I put all of my books away and I just focused on what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it, so that it came out like authentically me. And so when my editor said, well, do you need to give anybody credit for your thoughts here? Like, have you quoted anybody? Have you used anybody's ideas? I could honestly say no, because I hadn't opened up anything to influence me. So it was all really based on my own experience. Not to say people don't contribute along the way, but certainly not in a legal plagiarism type way. Because you want to avoid that in literature. That's always good.
Just a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. But when I see my book and when I read my book, I am like very much, this is me. Like it or hate it, it's me. And the people that like it are going to be the people that I want to connect with and I want to meet because it's speaking to them. If I was writing somebody else's words down or some bastardization of their words, how would I ever be able to talk to the people that connected with me after and said, hey, can we talk about your book? Because I wouldn't be able to because they weren't my words. So I think that holds true with anything that we're doing in business. Shut things out.
Absolutely. I do. I agree with that, and everybody's like, oh, self-develop every day, read a book every day. You know what? The best things sometimes that I read come from my own mouth. And not to say in a cocky way, but what I'm saying is this. I've taken all these notes in books and notebooks, all types of stuff. I go back to what I wrote and I'm like, how I interpreted that information. Sometimes I'm like, what was I thinking? Because I'm thinking, oh, I took it from a different perspective because I've grown so much. And then I'm thinking, oh, other people might. Because, see, I look back and I'm saying I was once there. This is how I thought. So then I take how I thought and now I know how to reword my programs and my copy because I once was that person that I'm now teaching. And so sometimes I literally will just close my eyes and just meditate and brainstorm on just things that I've written in the past. Think about things. Is that still valid now? Is that evergreen? Does that change? Is that something I could write a blog post on? I mean, I'll take a topic that I've wanted to always talk about. I have like a little thing area in a binder that I have of topics that I want to write about. I'll take that topic and I'll say, I'm going to just brainstorm for about 30 minutes. That's my self-development. I literally brainstorm and I'm thinking, realistically, how do you help somebody get results? If they followed my blog post or my email or whatever, are they going to get a lot of fluff or is it really actual implementation? Because I realize that's what's lacking nowadays, right? A lot of things that you read do not have the practical application. A lot of it is so much fluff and so much struggle that you're trying to implement it. And even if you tried to figure out what the steps were, they really wouldn't work. Because, see, people don't tell you that it's going to take you consistency over a year to apply that, or what you could do at that point. So,
or it's that changing of the thinking, that thought process, and that awareness that you need to bring to it. Every time you're about to embark on something, think about what it is you're thinking about to say, oh, is this going to get me where I want to go? And the more you practice that, the easier it becomes. And then your results show up faster.
Because I bet you could read your book. Let's just say 2 or 3 years from now, you go and read some of your thoughts, some of your notes. I guarantee you can write a second edition or you can add an expanded edition because of the things that you've learned. So sometimes
God, I could do that now.
Exactly, right? And even afterwards. And that's why I'm like, guys, read some of the wonderful things that you've already learned in all the notes that you've taken. do you know how much content and books you could write and just anything, broadcasts you can do out of what you already have experienced? And so sometimes it is better to go on a fast. And that's exactly where I'm at, where I'm just kind of fasting from certain things. I don't say yes to everything. I just don't. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, you're going to turn things down. Yes, I am. Because my sanity is more important. And I have to really distinguish, is that where I need to put my time?
Right. And you can't be everything to all things. Some things you just have to say no to in order to stay true to the things that you want to have that impact on.
Absolutely. And are those the people you want to attract? Is that what my brand is about? Yeah. Let's just be realistic. Sometimes just say no.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes the no is because they're not a good fit. If they're not a good fit and you say yes, then it's an uphill climb. It's an uphill battle and it's exhausting. And then the things that you really want to focus on, you don't have the time or the energy for. I talked to a woman yesterday and she said, that she dissolved a working relationship that she had. And she was scared to do it because she thought this is what she needed to do. This is where her clients were coming from. And she said, as soon as I broke that relationship that wasn't working for me anymore, all of this good stuff started coming in and giving her all of this work. And she is thrilled with her client base now. It's super cool for her. It's nice to watch it happen. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
I've had those moments too. Everybody, I think. That's why I say let go. Just if something is not resonating with you, just let it go. Oh my gosh, we could sing that song like when you were singing in the beginning. Let it go. Yes, let it go. There we go. Make everything a song. Like everything a song.
I know I do that. It is so funny. I shouldn't because, we should leave singing to people who can do it, but maybe not. Maybe, I don't know. Singing.
No, I think you should. It's a fun quirk. My sister does it all the time. She makes a song out of everything. I'm talking to her and it'll be a serious conversation and she busts out singing and I'm like, is there really a song for everything? She's like, yeah, there is.
There is.
Okay. All right.
Pay attention, Tanya. There is.
I know. Stay calm and sing along.
Exactly. I like that one. We need those on t-shirts.
Go ahead. Yes. You take that one.
And it's really cool because Nesha, my producer, he's a musician. So he's sitting and listening to this, totally understanding. Except he's really good at it. So.
Oh, yeah. I love it. I love it.
Oh boy. Anyway, we should probably wrap up here. I could seriously sit and talk to you all day long. It's been ages. But what is that last little bit of information or little tidbit of advice that you want to offer up to our listeners?
Besides let it go?
Yeah, you got to pick a new song. Hello.
There you go. It's me. Sorry. See, I love to sing, so don't get me on that note. But you know what? I would definitely say, it's okay to break the mold. It's okay to break the mold, and some of your best moments of clarity are going to happen when you do, as funny as it sounds, let go and. Like what you were saying earlier is, take that fast, take that social media fast, break free. Don't read the books. Don't do anything. Just journal. I challenge you I love to challenge people after anything I do. So I challenge all the listeners here and go ahead and tell Allison and all of us how you're doing, but take a week off. Go schedule your social media. That's fine. If you have to take 10 minutes a day on your social media, that's fine. But literally, don't pick up a book, don't listen to an audio, don't do anything but journal and read notes that you've written in the past, and you're going to see some really crazy changes. So that's my last words.
I love it. Last words. We'll have to have you on again because it's just such a trip talking to you. Yeah, because it's anyway, I've got something new brewing up for the new year, and we'll have to talk about bringing you on for it.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you never know.
Okay, I'm only going to agree if there's two conditions. One, if it's live so I can actually hug you myself. And then two, because a girls' night out would be a freaking blast.
Oh, yeah, it would.
Then number two, if I get an autographed book. Because, see, I need your autograph on it.
Okay, well, it's a deal. We'll figure something out because, having a visit would be a trip.
Wait a minute. That's recorded and the producer heard it. Everybody live, you've heard it. She's going to stick to it.
I will. That's an easy one to agree to. I'd love to see you.
All right.
Well, until next Thursday, speak up because you have something to say and I want to hear it.
Thanks for hanging out with Natural Born Speakers. But don't stop now. Contact Allison with questions to be a guest or hire her as a speaker. Go to dominothinking.com. See you same place and time next week.